Well, the first thing I should do is correct myself from the last video where I said that Descartes' famous saying, "I think, therefore I am," appears in this meditation. It does not. It is actually said in exactly that way in another work of Descartes called the Discourse on Method. Um, but I stand by the idea that the thought is here. That is, that when Descartes realizes that he can doubt the reality of the appearances, I think in the same sense as Sextus Empiricus meant that idea. That is, certainly things appear to us. The world appears to us a certain way. The question is whether the world is the way that it appears, and really a deeper question, whether there's any world at all. However that may be, and however unanswered those questions may be, Descartes' point is that although I can doubt that the appearances reflect anything real, I cannot doubt that I am having the sensation, the perception of something. Or I cannot doubt that I am having some sort of thinking or mental activity of some sort. And he draws a conclusion from that therefore he exists. And he draws a further conclusion. When you read the second meditation, perhaps the most striking thing that he says is that he is a thinking thing. That is, let's go back to More's common sense view of things. More's common sense view of things is that whatever else exists, we believe that physical bodies or material objects exist, and we believe that mental acts of consciousness exist, and we believe that those are in some way or another, in creatures like us at least, connected. Moore does not specify how they're connected, but he does strongly imply that we are both body and mind. I think that Descartes is starting with the same common sense presupposition, but you can see that he's kind of breaking it down. You can see here that in a way the second meditation is a kind of puzzled reflection on the very notion of physical body, and why would physical body and the idea that we certainly are, at least in part, physical bodies, become something that is puzzling. Well, once we follow along with Descartes' sort of trajectory of thinking here, which boils down to the idea that I am a thinking thing. That is, I can imagine myself not having a body. I can imagine that all the things that appear to me that indicate that I have a body are false. But I cannot imagine myself not thinking. I think that's the essential claim here. That I can imagine myself continuing to exist if I did not have a body. If all these indications of bodyhood were false, that doesn't mean that I can imagine that, but I cannot imagine not thinking. In a way, that would be death, right? I'm trying to imagine what it's like to be dead, and that is sort of widely agreed to be impossible. So as long as I am thinking, I must exist. So that is the essential thought here, but one of the inferences that Descartes draws from that is that I am essentially a thinking thing. I may be other things, right? I may have other aspects. Certainly I may have a body. But whatever else is true, I am a thinking thing, and that takes a certain priority then, even if I can then establish that in fact I am an organic being, a physical being, whatever else is true about my perceptions of the world through my body, but I am essentially a thinking thing. I am a thinker, and it is mental activity or thought that is essential to my being. That is a very fateful moment in Western philosophy. Believe me, philosophers in succeeding centuries have really wrestled with that question and the implications of that idea that we are essentially thinkers in the sense, not that we should think and that's like our calling. No, that we are essentially thought, that we are thinking things before we are material things. And a lot of pages have been written on that subject. So the idea of a thinking thing. Now you can see that there are going to be problems. Now you can sort of stop there if you want. You can say, well, all I can know is that I know. Not that I know all I can know is that I think, and that therefore I exist at least as a thinking thing. Why not stop there? You know, Descartes stopped there. I mean, you know, there are maybe all sorts of reasons to go on philosophically, but clearly, I don't think for a moment that we should think of Descartes as a skeptic, because we know what skeptics are. Skeptics are the ones who've suspended judgment and are willing to stay there. They find tranquility and peace in that, you know, and realizing that they can't judge the appearances, and they can't judge what the reality is behind the appearances, one may say. Descartes' not like that. Descartes, he's either much more ambitious or he's much more foolish, or he's both. But he wants to go on. Clearly, Descartes wants to recover as an item of certain and sure knowledge more than that he knows that he is a thinking thing.